right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners check-in for Monday, May 20th, 2024, 2:02 p.m. My name is Ty Mentor, Chair of the Board, Vice Chair Commissioner Fournier on Zoom, and Commissioners Mejia, Edwards, and we'll be joined by Commissioner Klaus in a moment. For public virtual attendance, follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. Are we live streaming this meeting? Yeah. County Manager Leonard Hernandez and our Assistant County Managers Robin Campbell and Rob Gelder are also here. Just our two standing items for Commissioners check-in on the agenda. First up is reports on external boards and commissions. Commissioner Fournier, you want to go first? Do you have anything?
I gave a brief update earlier about the LSC meeting, and I'll get into further details when I'm back.
Okay. Commissioner Mejia.
Well, I was at the Board of Directors meeting last week, and then also attended LSC at the Board of Directors meeting. The big conversation was, of course, in terms of indigent defense, also reviewing our bylaws to see how we are going to be proceeding. They were tentatively accepted, and so there is actually going to be a special meeting set in June where we're going to be having a more in-depth discussion about the bylaws and seeing what's the future of WASOC with Pierce and Snohomish. I attended the Thurston Thrives elected officials meeting. Also, attended the LSC, attended study, and the Resource Hub brainstorm, and then also attended the Trials Legacy Committee dignitary reception this weekend. I was kind of sad to miss Commissioner Menser play, but I did attend the Colvin Ranch open house, and as I was driving there, I saw the ag park construction going on, and it's very exciting to actually see buildings on there. So congratulations, Commissioner Fournier. I know you've been working very hard on that project, and it was just very exciting to see the buildings actually be erected now. So, and then I was just at the DES work group, and before I left, we were discussing fiduciary responsibilities, and Lot has just been volunteered. Commissioner Menser, I thought you would be interested in that as a possible fiduciary agent. And so they're going to be looking more into that.
What? So I thought they just landed on the state taking care of that.
Nope. Apparently some of the jurisdictions do not feel that it should be the state. And so they are looking to see if a local entity will take that on. Of course, I was making sure that the county was not volunteered once again for that role. But I know Lot did say that they have some concerns, and they will be looking into it legally if that's even a possibility. And then the state will be managing their part of the funds, and so basically what Lot will be managing is just the local part of the funds. Since both of the funds cannot be combined, both the state and local cannot be combined, is basically what they said. So that was kind of the end of it as I came towards this meeting, and I'll be catching up hopefully after this meeting on what else is happening. So just thought that was pretty big, so just wanted to let everyone know.
Well, I will be really curious to hear if Lot is able to do what the county treasurer can't do. And if that's true, then I mean, I don't see where there would be a distinction that would allow Lot to do it and the county not to do it.
I was surprised that some of the conversation, honestly, today, there was a lot of rehashing of things that we had already discussed previously, like setting up its own entity came back up. And so it's just like, so I'm just letting everyone know that's kind of the tone of the conversation today.
How was the Resource Hub brainstorming session?
It was really good. They had it set as an open house, and Commissioner Klaus was also there, as well as Assistant County Manager Gelder and several members from Public Health and DV. And they had it set up on kind of like what, you know, if funds were an issue, kind of what do you see the resource hub as being? Like, how can we communicate better? You know, and it was, and everyone kind of just wrote down their ideas. It was more of really a brainstorming session, and expanded hours was something that I saw quite a bit. And so they're going to be gathering all of the notes that they took or that they, you know, received, and going to be sending out a summarized version of that in the coming months.
Okay. Do we have the second staff member hired?
Yes.
I thought so. Have you met that person?
They introduced them at that meeting. It's Carolina.
Carolina.
Yes, not Carolina like me, it's Carolina.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be tricky. I have multiple Carolinas, and Carolina's less gonna roll off the tongue less easily for me. Okay, any other questions for Commissioner Mejia and her report? Commissioner Edwards?
I don't have anything to report from boards and commissions,
Okay.
but I do have a commissioner's item, but I think that'll be
Yeah,
next.
we'll roll back through. Commissioner Klaus?
Let's see. I'm struggling with my remarkable. It's like frozen. Let me see if I can pull mine up real quick. There we go. It's working now. Okay. Okay. So external boards and commissions. Last week there was the BHASO meeting. That went really well. Law and Justice was canceled last week, unfortunately. Not sure why. I also have a JazzCom update from the previous week, but we had to cut short for our last update, so you can find that one too. Okay. So we went over the space needs assessment, talked about the current site that they're on now, and what we were asked to bring back to the board was, so they just finished their first phase of their space needs assessment, which basically just ended with the recommendation to not utilize the current site that they're at because there's not enough space. The contractor or the nonprofit that's doing the assessment said that they'll need 25,000 square feet, and they currently are sitting at 8,000 square feet with only 2 out of 5 acres developable because of the wetland around the area. So Animal Arts recommended, like I said, not to build on the current site, and they're looking for another site to build on. At our next JazzCom meeting, which will be in July, we're skipping the June meeting to allow for more time for this discussion, but when we come back in July, the goal is to give authority to Animal Services and the City of Lacey to look at what else is out there. I asked at the meeting why we couldn't go ahead and give them the authority to move forward on looking for something else, but we were asked to bring this information back to our jurisdictions to have a conversation. So that's kind of where that part was left. So I guess the question then for my seatmates would be, are we okay with giving them the authority to continue looking for other space?
Myself, I'm concerned about the revenue source that we might be obligated to. And I just, we're coming up on some tough times, so
That's my
I think I
concerns
need
too.
more information.
Okay,
I have the same concerns as Commissioner Edwards.
okay. So I understand those concerns, and I also still have questions about that as well. As far as the process of looking for more space, I guess for me, the confusion is like, we don't have any hard numbers yet. And to continue moving this conversation forward without numbers, it just leaves a lot of questions open every time we talk about it. So since the next meeting, the goal is to give them authority to look for other space, but it doesn't necessarily lock in any price. Should we hold off until, I think Sarah's coming to present in June, is that right?
Yeah, but they are interested in postponing the presentation. They can give us the statistics, something that we just learned about. But they would like to, I think, meet with you and I in more detail. I'm reviewing some information that they sent over.
Okay.
And really what I understand them wanting from us is more direction as to how to put the different costs together for the revised level of service. And I can't really speak to that until I really understand the statistics that they gave us, and I'm in the process of reviewing that right now.
Okay.
Although the meeting that you added, Robin and I to, was helpful. And I also wanted to meet with the assistant city manager for Lacey, who helps them administratively to understand some of the context.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, and happy to have us to do that in tandem, so that we can both gain our understanding and come back and report back to the commissioners. Sorry.
Okay, that sounds good. Do you know when that next conversation is happening, or are you still working on scheduling that?
We have to schedule it with the assistant
Okay.
city manager. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, awesome. I think that was it, but let me just double check. Okay, that was it for external commissions.
Okay. I'm gonna just report on two things that might be of interest. One was I covered the flood authority for Commissioner Fournier, and so two of the seats on the Chehalis Basin Board, which is the board that provides recommendations to the governor about the whole Chehalis Basin flood and aquatic species project, we're up. Vicki Rains, who's a commissioner from Grace Harbor, was reappointed. But in lieu of Jay Gordon, who's been a longtime citizen representative, he didn't run for reappointment, and Scott Brummer, who is a county commissioner from Lewis County, was appointed. Unanimously, there wasn't any other candidates. So that was significant. And then the other thing that was significant was Jay Vanderstoop, who's also on the Chehalis Basin Board. And he's always deep into the weeds of the effort to try to build the flood retention facility, or dam. Kind of gave an update on the efforts that are going on to undercut the assumptions. So Ecology had a report. Part of its reporting on the EIS was that there would be a certain level of damage to fish. And so they're going after some of the assumptions that are built into that conclusion. One of the things that's more tangible that I could make sense of was that there had been an assumption that during construction, there'd be 3 to 5 years of no fish passage, and that would essentially wipe out a whole, because fish are on like the 3-year cycle or whatever, so that would wipe out a whole generation, which would be unacceptable to a lot of groups. Now they've got they've been working with the consultant, Constructure, so that they can build like half of it and then let water go and build the other half of it, and I don't know, weld it together. I'm not sure how it's gonna work, but they're trying to come up with a way so that like at no point will there be zero fish passage, and they won't have to confront this reality of 3 to 5 years of zero fish passage, which was a huge, negative for a lot of groups trying to come to some kind of consensus. So they're gonna be making a presentation, I believe, in June. I can't read my notes very well, but what I understood is there's gonna be some kind of presentation about some of these answers to some of these assumptions coming up fairly soon. And that was sort of a preview from Jay Vanderstoop, who's always in the know on that stuff. And then one other thing, heads up for Commissioner Fournier, and I would be happy to join him, I'd be excited to join him, is they are preparing a all-day field visit. It's really geared toward legislators, but they're gonna try to get flood authority members invited for the Skookumchuck Basin, looking at all sorts of pieces of the watershed and projects and kind of a comprehensive field tour of what's going on in that watershed. So that's gonna happen in September, but they haven't set a specific date. But they've got a detailed itinerary for what the day would look like. Look pretty cool, so I'd be happy to go with you, or let me know if that gets scheduled, because that would be interesting.
Yeah, let's do it. That sounds great.
Okay, so that's that one. And then the other thing was this reentry demonstration project. Let me see if I can find notes on that. This is that thing about the Medicaid reimbursement. So John Thunheim brought the person from Choice Network, who's involved in building this program, to a small meeting, and I was able to attend. And in advance of that meeting, he sent this 1-hour webinar that I watched. So I watched the webinar, and then I asked follow-up questions from the guy, Choice. I'll get his name here in a second. And there's a really, so it's a time, so you can choose your timeline, basically. I want to say there's 2 cohorts or 3 cohorts? 3. So there's 3, and each one has its own timeline. And depending on how quickly you think you can be ready, you can sort of choose. The first thing to do is just fill out this really simple form, and anyone could do that. But the next thing to do is to basically put in a plan of how you're gonna meet the requirements of the reimbursement. And that will require participation from the sheriff's office, and Sheriff Sanders was at this meeting that I'm describing. So he was there, hearing it, and he thought that it would be not a problem to work on. And the timeline for that, I want to say, is if we want to join the first cohort, and it sounded like everybody did, because Sheriff Sanders thought we really have a lot of the pieces in place that first cohort would require.
June 1st would be that
Commitment date, but the next piece of the plan that's more substantive is like October, I want to say, or end of October, beginning of November. So that would be like the more substantive thing we'd have to tee up in order to stay on the timeline of the first cohort. Yes.
Did Sheriff Sanders say if they've submitted the documents?
No, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I took the lead to basically, I took responsibility to confirm that would be done by somebody. Like literally, I could sit down and do it. It's a 3-page form where, your jurisdiction, your address, there isn't much substance to it. So I just didn't, John was like, well, who's doing it? Sheriff or me or you or county manager? Or, and I said, I will make sure that this gets filed.
Yeah, we're tracking it.
We're meeting Friday morning, actually, to go over the different components of what we would be committing to.
Right. We just wanted to take a look at, analyze the entirety of it so that we can come back.
So you know what's next.
Yeah.
If we join cohort 1, we need an implementation plan by October 1st. You get, as soon as you do, the thing to know is that as soon as you file your intent, you get 10% of the money released to build the other pieces of the plan. So for us, we would be looking at 1.5 million. So we would get $150,000 released to us within 30, basically, if we file our thing at the end of June 1st, they said by mid-July, you'll have your 150,000 and you can be rolling through the next pieces of the process, which is an implementation plan, and then there's another piece after that. And I've got all those pieces in a PowerPoint if you guys want to see them.
I would love to, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that we received it.
So it looked like pretty straightforward stuff.
We've received information, but I have not seen a PowerPoint. Was that provided by Choice?
I've not seen
JP?
It was a webinar that was, I can just forward you the webinar link.
Right. We've got the links to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a packet that he brought, that handed out, that actually had the form that,
So I haven't seen the packet that you may be referring to, but we received a lot of documents and a link to the webinar, and we have all the information.
okay.
It's looking at what the lift is, because it's not just the sheriff's office. It's quite a bit of IT involved.
Yes, you have to have eventually, I think that might be the third piece, you have to show that you have the HIPAA, or the ability to bill Medicaid, like your system protects health records and bills Medicaid in the appropriate way, like those are the two big pieces. And
Right.
if you don't have your own and you don't want to buy your own, the state's got kind of a model one that you can plug into if that's where you want to go. But Sheriff was saying he thought that the things that were needed there were.
So we've not had a chance to dive into it yet,
Yeah.
No, we haven't.
and,
But we'll do that by the end of this week.
Yeah, because if you don't want to, if you want to pull back and like join cohort 2 or whatever, then that's good to know this month, because you don't want to fill
Absolutely.
that form and get money and then you can't utilize it.
Yeah, that's why we want to make sure we can deliver, we understand the full implications, but, yeah, we'll circle up as a team and back to you. Anything you have, if you want to forward it to Robin and I.
Okay,
that'd be
that
great,
packet
just so we can make
that
sure
was
we have
handed
it.
out by the guy at the meeting physically with a couple, I think has additional information beyond the PowerPoint, so I'll get that in your hands.
Thank you so much, Chair. Rob, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think it truly is sussing out sort of what that lift would be, but, the electronic medical records, there's a lot of potential other implications that we don't know yet. Because anytime you get into insurance and billing, that's going to take a person, et cetera. So there's a lot of layers to that particular onion. Sure. But more to come.
Are you done? I forgot the board of directors appointments to committees.
Is your question about my thing, or no? Okay, then go ahead.
Just to report on and Commissioner Menser, you were there, but for the Sentencing Guidelines Commissions, Commissioner Menser's and Commissioner Johnson's name were moved up for the County Road Administration Board. My name was moved up, so I'm very excited to be serving a term with CRAB. For the Transportation Improvement Board, they kept that one open for, our Public Works Director, Jennifer Walker, had reapplied to be on that board, but apparently now you have to have like 2 to 3 names to send up to the governor's office, so they're going to be waiting to receive more names, and so I've let her know. And then for the, for other committees that needed names, Commissioner Fournier graciously said during that process that he wanted to volunteer, so I nominated him for all of the empty slots, so we'll see what he gets appointed to.
She did, she's not joking. I was there.
Oh, I know. I got a bunch of emails. I'm like nominated for the State Freight Mobility Commission or something, and various other ones. And I appreciate that, Commissioner Mejia.
She was even like,
It's a big vote of confidence.
they're like, it's gotta be a transit person, you know, and she's like, well, he's the alternate, and I'm texting her going, I'm actually the alternate, but if, I don't wanna get in your way to fill Commissioner Fournier's plate. That's pretty funny. Okay, well, that's good, and like I say, they all go up there, and hopefully the incumbents get some priority from the governor's office, but that's
Yeah.
up to them. Okay, Commissioner Edwards, you had your hand up.
Are we going
We
into
can
other
go to,
items?
yeah, we'll go to Commissioner items, sure.
Last week, I had an opportunity to talk with Josh about an issue out on Spurgeon Creek. And what the issue was there's such a thing as a legal lot determination and a innocent purchaser.
Legal
Did-
lot?
A legal lot. Just, now, I don't know why that is, but this has a parcel number, and the party's been paying taxes on it for lots of years. I think over the last 5 years, they've paid about $10,000, nothing on the lot. And that's what the question is someone wants to build a house on the lot. And they were told that it wasn't that simple, had to go to the hearings examiner, some question about whether or not there was a legal lot. I went to the assessor and checked the back records. They've been paying like for 30 more than 30 years or 40 years, long time, as far back as I could find at the assessor's office. So I can't imagine that we're having people pay taxes to that extent. Then when they go to do something, they're told, well, can't do that, gotta go to the hearings examiner. Hearings examiner costs about $5,000. And the time that it takes to have this happen. Anyway, so I asked Josh, well, is there a process in place maybe that we could adjust under Title 18 of the code? And he said, oh, yeah, probably so, because this has been in place a long time, that this was a requirement. And I said, well, what would it take to look at it? Oh, yeah, we could look at that. Well, anyway, Josh sent me a text today saying that he had a commissioner's request, verbal request from me to do that, which kind of I did say, yeah, let's see what you can find out about that. But being it's down here is kind of an official deal, and I'm remembering back, it usually takes 3 commissioners to end up asking a staff person like Josh to do something, because he has to have somebody look into it. So I thought I better bring this in front of the board, just to let you know that I'd asked that question, but I think it would behoove all of us to get an answer for this, for other constituent issues. So, that's all.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask, can you just repeat what the request is from staff?
What my request
Yeah,
was?
yeah, what is
Oh, I
it?
asked Josh, could you figure out what's going on here, that this party is being delayed so long? There's a couple of years in the works now that have already elapsed. Actually, one death, the gentleman owned the property and he died. The family says, well, he was stressed out dealing with the county. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but anyway, now the family's got it, and there's been several applications made. So we're just trying to figure out here, what is the holdup? The family's owned it for many, many years, paying taxes, there's a parcel number. Gosh, they've collected a lot on it. And now it seems like there's more roadblocks in the way.
So you're requesting from the board now to give you like 3 thumbs up, so.
Yes,
have the-
basically,
Okay.
because I think it could be applicable to any of us, having a constituent complaint brought, and then you'd be faced with the same thing too.
Yeah.
So,
Commissioner Fournier, did you have a question?
he's froze up, I think.
Yeah, again, new guy, but my understanding is, and you know, I'm just hoping for some clarification myself. When you're on a legislative board or whatever, you can ask staff for information. So you can request information, and you can request, you know, and which is kind of directing staff, but you're getting information so you can be a better legislator. But you're not supposed to direct staff to do things. And to me, it doesn't sound like you were directing staff to take action, except get you information. Is that kind of the general understanding that
I think
we
that's
operate on
correct.
here?
If Commissioner Edwards was asking for what's going on, like those kind of questions, like what's going on in this case, I think those are fair game. If he says,
Yeah.
I want to
What
start
would it take to
developing
fix it?
solutions, yeah, what would it take to
would it
fix
take to
it?
fix it?
Come up with a memo with some solutions of possible code changes, that's where I think the board should be aware of that and kind of okay with that.
Okay.
County manager's showing assent on that.
Yeah, I agree. If it's can you give me an overview of the situation and what's going on? Staff should be able to respond, absolutely. If the question is, hey, I want to fix this situation, and the fix is outside of the current structure or policies, procedures, code, whatever, and I want ideas, then it's, well, we bring this to the full board and get direction on how to explore the fix.
And I think the question was, what would it take to fix this?
Gotcha.
for an administrative review. That was the question.
Okay.
So, but getting this back, and I think that he took it a little more serious maybe, and I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that issue, of that discussion, and two other somebodies have to agree that it's worth, looking into. So,
We got three thumbs. I mean, I'll give my 2 cents is that, whether I agree with anything about it, this is directly pertinent to the business that we do. The only time I would say that, like, it's like, if I want staff to go work up a memo on how to fix the Palestinian conflict or something, then I might be like, you know what? I don't think that's a good use of my staff's time. We don't have any authority in that. But this is directly related to our business, so more knowledge is better.
and just as a courtesy to keep everybody in the loop,
Yeah, so,
Okay.
I see 3, 4. Good to go.
Okay.
We'll work on it
5.
with,
Yeah.
we'll work on it with Josh and the team.
Okay. Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead,
You want
Commissioner.
me
You
to
got
go
another
on?
one?
I think,
I think
I
Rob
asked
wants
a
to
clarifying
clarify.
question.
okay.
Sir, is the question specifically about a parcel or
Yes.
a process?
Well, it happens to be a parcel that led to the question. And
Okay.
so,
So it
What's-
is a process that is particular.
what's the deal here? Kind of trying to figure it out. And it's been in place for a long time. So I'm just questioning even a legal lot. I asked that question, what a legal lot was. Well, Josh wasn't sure of that. And then an innocent purchase, there was another response, but it was going to take somebody looking into it. That's all.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Board. Yep, go ahead, sir.
Then, I guess, I had a dog bite issue. The day you were supposed to have your meeting.
Oh,
And it ended up being quite serious. There was a mother with a 1-year-old in a stroller and a 4-year-old walking, and a vicious dog, I might add for the 4th time now, attacked this little kid. The mom's protecting the baby, and the little kid got chewed up, had to go to the emergency room and really took a beating. So lots of stitches, lots of damage. So the family was upset because folks in the neighborhood that observed this, the family took the 4-year-old to the hospital. And the neighbor called in the activity right at the time to animal control. And they said, well, we can't do anything about this until we talk to the parents, which kind of was an inappropriate response, I thought. But anyway, I did ask Risk if animal control had their own insurance carrier, because I believe this dog came from animal control as a adopted dog. So I think we might have some potential problems coming in. And they said, yes, they have their own insurance, so from a risk perspective, maybe it's not gonna be our bailiwick. And, I got,
Called animal control?
the neighbor that saw this incident happen.
They wanted to talk to the victim's parents.
Yeah, they didn't wanna, I mean, I would have thought they'd send somebody out there, maybe talk to somebody, go to the hospital, kids in the emergency room. Anyway, Robin got a hold of Sarah later, and Sarah was actively looking into it and trying to come up with a solution. But being we're in the middle of this conversation with animal control, I thought at least you ought to know this. If nothing else, might as well, everybody ought to know it, I guess. So, I got a couple more issues, but I don't want to steal.
Okay, anybody? We'll go around the horn. Any commissioner items, Commissioner Klaus?
let's see, I had a few things I can kind of zoom through. So I attended the Economic Development Council Africa Trade Conference on Friday with our county manager and Michael Cade from EDC. That was a really cool experience, so thank you for the invite, county manager and Commissioner Fournier, for bringing it to us last week. I'm really glad I got to go to that. It was, I mean, my part was pretty short and I had to get back for a meeting, but essentially it was about building partnership and community with some stakeholders from Africa who came out here. And I think more to come on that. I think there are ongoing conversations and probably a follow-up conversation with Michael Cade on what to do with the information we learned there. But that was a really fun experience for me. I also, as Commissioner Mejia said, I attended the Resource Hub brainstorm, and that was really informative, but Commissioner Mejia hit on that, so I won't spend too much time on that. I attended a meeting with Commissioner Edwards and CPAD staff regarding the A25 update on forest land conversions, and got all my questions answered there, so that was helpful. I also had a one-on-one with Nicole from the budget team, and a one-on-one meeting with Derek, Sheriff Sanders. And we talked about a lot during our one-on-one. It was actually a really good meeting. I think some of this good news came out in an email to the commissioners, but I'll share it for the benefit of the public. For corrections, we are under the dollar estimate for the double overtime that was estimated to be spent so far this year. It looks like we estimated $500,000 for the first 6 months of the year, but we're just under 200,000 now, so that's good. Retention issues are alleviating, and in corrections, they've hired almost 2 times the amount of corrections officers compared to the 2023 rates. Let's see, so we started the year with 32 corrections vacancies, and now we're down to 20 vacancies. And Sheriff Sanders mentioned a desire to bring back the work release program when we get down to 10 vacancies, so I thought that was exciting news. Lateral program, according to the sheriff, is going well, taking about 29 days on average to get deputies on the road compared to about 12 months before this program started. And there's a new dashboard, public-facing dashboard on the Thurston County Sheriff's Office website. It's a pilot program, but it is a way to kind of interact with the online interface to look at data regarding the use of force for each call type. So I thought that was really cool, that the public can go on there and kind of start looking at what's happening in a way that's easily digestible. Like I said, it's a pilot, so the goal ultimately is to start bringing in other forms of data around other topics like pursuit data or information about the budget. So I thought that sounded promising, and I'm hoping the public will utilize that tool so that it's successful and we can continue developing it. And that's all I have.
Is that a one-on-one you had with the sheriff?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Fournier, any commissioner items?
No, just some thoughts. When you all were talking about when Commissioner was talking about animal services, talking with the other county officials at LSC, and advocating and speaking on behalf of the idea of the luxury tax on animal items, it just became more apparent that seems to be like a big divide between rural and urban services, and we're kind of like a county that seems to be in a middle ground, and the rural communities or the rural counties really had a very different perspective on animal services, and there was a lot of really just tongue-in-cheek comments that were made, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, but it was, I mean, they just had no understanding of kind of what we go through, and there was a lot of comments that were made. Well, here in this rural county, we know how to deal with animal problems, and it costs about 50 cents. And then like that, I mean, those comments were made, and in more urban settings, which it seems like we're kind of in the middle of, where you've got Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater that have they get services out of JASCOM that make a lot of sense to them, and then when you get a little further out, it just kind of changes. And so we're navigating a very gray area in service levels, and I think Commissioner Mejia said it to me, where we're kind of we're having to put out urban level services to rural areas, and it's a strain. It's a strain on our budget, and it's hard to navigate what those services need to look like when it's expected. The urban level of service is expected in rural areas, and I'm just learning what that looks like and how that works and how to converse about that. So.
Yep, I think thanks for that feedback. I was curious what reaction you'd get from other counties, and it is kind of, county manager and I were discussing last week about, I think Thurston County in many ways is a singular county in this state. I mean, politically, rural to urban, sea to farm to prairie. I mean, we have it all. And
it's a curse and a blessing. It's a great place to live, but it's complicated.
It's hard to bring all the different interests together because we have everything to a scale that not that many counties can really say.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that I have any. Oh, the only commissioner item that I had was just at the lunch break. I was able to read this packet that we discussed this morning in executive session with more thoroughness, and I had a number of questions about it, and I asked the Assistant County Manager Gelder I suggested some revisions to the draft letter that I'm hoping he would maybe circulate before it goes out. Mainly just, not so much substantive, but mainly like, the letter just jumps right into a point-by-point like answer to the tribe, and I thought it kind of lacked a kind of introductory paragraph of kind of philosophically like, hey, we understand their concerns and there's issues to be addressed. We do, because to me, the way I read it, it felt like it was just trying to deflect whatever we could back to the state. And I didn't want that to be the front forward message. I think we should say something up front and then go to the point by point, most of which I think is on point.
Sit around the table and eat first.
Yeah, well, there you go. And that's, again, maybe that goes to the timing issue as well, but I just wanted to, again, to me, the history here is this whole idea that someday the county was going to be creating a public water source, and ecology seemed to be hanging its hat on that, and we apparently, according to this email at the very back of the packet, have some kind of feasibility study. I don't know where that is or what it said, but there's a suggestion that the county did a feasibility study. This Marie Peter 2017 email says, the letter from the county indicated that they had prepared a water system feasibility study and concluded that a public water supply was needed in the Summit Lake area. So, this is the issue that I think the board needs. That was all like 2017, 18, right before I got here. So I haven't had a chance to go deep down into this.
They had a vote out there too.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of history.
Yeah, so it's something that I think the board needs to take a closer look at for future planning.
Okay.
Great, we'll round that up and also make the suggested changes and circulate that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Commissioner Mejia.
I guess I'll just give an update on our federal requests that we have submitted. And so just as FYI and some really good news. So the meat processing plant request that the EDC submitted that we supported, and we've done a lot of work for that, has gone on to the next step in Senator Cantwell's, as well as Representative Glusenkamp Perez's. So that's very exciting. Our TC Saves Fairgrounds request has gone on to the next step with Representative Strickland, and our camera system request has gone on to the next step with Senator Murray. So just want to give a big shout out to staff. And, this was just a big undertaking that we did this year, and just very excited to see a lot of our projects that have gone on to that next step. Of course, now we kind of have to sit and wait and see what happens. But it's just very good news in terms of our federal request this year.
Okay, any questions on that?
If I may comment, thank you, Commissioner Mejia. You did quite a bit of work on those bills. Thank you for your efforts.
half guessing my way through it.
Daniel,
I'm sure.
yeah, Helter, he's Cantwell?
Murray.
Murray, okay. He's been, I've been seeing him a lot here and there, so.
I've had him on speed dial while we were doing the.
Well, he's been around, it's just, I mean, it's great to have somebody that, you know, you can touch base with.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him like weekly, and it's good to be able to have that. For a while, I didn't really have any contact with, like, when I became commissioner, each of the federal folks set up a meeting with me, had lunch or whatever it was, and I never saw them again, really. I mean, for the most part, they weren't quite as out in the community as I'm seeing Daniel.
You're coming to say.
Strickland's too, yeah.
Our federal partners are exceptional right now, I would say. And I was speaking to Busenkamp yesterday, and prior to her, I had never seen any of our federal representatives showing up, paying attention. And Marilyn Strickland aside, but she's up north. But for South County, it's amazing right now with our federal reps.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner Mejia. Commissioner Edwards, back to you.
The letter that you sent out to the schools, I
Yes.
take it you already sent that.
I sent it Friday.
Yeah. I think it represents your situation pretty good, but it really doesn't represent my concern. And that concern was that we not detrimentally affect the budgets of any of our junior taxing districts when we started to move forward on this. And I can't definitely point to, Rochester lost 100,000 or something like that. But there is a lot of speculation that that's coming. And I don't know how much community aggravation that's creating, but I know all of the school districts are pretty sensitive to funding, and the fire districts as well. And I don't know if any other letters came in. Get anything else recently that you know of? So, although I'm not inclined to send anything like a counter or anything like that, but I do think that we need to find out a little more. And because I don't want to cut money out of the schools or the fire service. I hope we can get a better answer from DNR on this. Because waiting to change the legislation that might be 10 years down the road isn't going to be acceptable, I guess, for me. Anyway, just my position on it.
I have one more. I
Yes.
said I was done, but this week is Public Works Week. So it's National Public Works Week, and tomorrow is Wear Orange to Work Day. So I will be wearing orange to work tomorrow, in case anyone else wants to join me. And there's a number of events throughout the week as well that we got an email about.
I think I have an orange Hawaiian shirt packed with me.
You'll need orange out at the rodeo anyway, at Public Works.
And I believe it's gonna be Commissioner Klaus and Commissioner Edwards representing the board at those events, and,
Looks like everybody else is out of service. Huh?
yeah. I'm gonna be out of town Thursday, Friday.
Let's say I'm in recovery. in Tacoma. But I can't wear orange. Sure, at least, not an orange suit.
I tried to find an orange suit, but I couldn't.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky, but, all right. Well, thank you, because I wasn't planning on doing orange, so thanks for the reminder. All right, anything else for this agenda? Hearing nothing, we're adjourned.